Okay, yeah. So I read something and I was like, wow. So I wanna start it off the discussion with this. And it says, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers, excuse me, all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And I wanted to start off with, what obstacles do you feel like keeps people from experiencing love and positivity in their own life, or just feedback or just suggestions of just being more open to um allowing love to come into their life, so I wanted to see if anybody wanted to share that. Hey, Carl. um
Hola, hola.
hey. Yeah, okay. So I'm new to this. I saw a raised hand. Go ahead. I'm like, how do see, I definitely go ahead. I would love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so hi, this is Niyati. I
Hi.
was just saying that I think one of the obstacles is fear of vulnerability, in the sense that, you're trying to be honest and you're trying to connect with the other person, but there's always this fear if you will be accepted in your wholeness.
Mm, that is true. Yeah. Being vulnerable is not always so easy to feel comfortable to wanna have conversations or just feel like you could be yourself. So I know Carl, and I know there's some other people that just came in. I started it off with, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And I basically asked, what are some obstacles keeping people from, love or positivity in their lives? And she started off with vulnerability, and I think that that is really a big one. Anyone else want to add?
I toss forgiveness in there,
Mm,
like forgiveness of self. I think there's a lot of things that, we sometimes experience in our life, especially our child self, that, we need to learn what that forgiveness language is along with that love language.
mm,
Um, and that's like a place to help kind of plant more roots towards a space of love, because like love is very nuanced and love is something that transcends dimensions on purpose, and there's a reason why any dimension you go in, you can always find it.
yeah, yeah. Do you think that forgiveness starts with being vulnerable within?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think there's a level of vulnerability of, letting yourself develop the awareness of even understanding where those blockages are. And you need to be first vulnerable with yourself. Because I feel like a lot of us can fall into those routines of kind of being hard on ourselves because of like the patterns and environment we may have been around. So maybe we don't know how to be vulnerable, with other people slash ourselves.
Right. I agree. I agree. Anyone else want to add? And hey, everyone that tunes in, we're just talking about, sorry, I feel like, we're just talking about what are obstacles keeping love and positivity out of people's lives, and what ways do you think that can help to just dissolve that so we can allow love and positivity in our lives? So if anybody else would like
That fear is one of my biggest
that.
obstacles.
Mm, yes,
I
definitely.
like I'm terrified to trust anybody because everybody I've trusted in the past has done me wrong. I'm terrified to trust myself because I make bad decisions every single time I make a decision. And I'm just I live in this constant fear, carrying this codependency and all of this other stuff with me. And that is absolutely the boundary that keeps me from even loving and accepting myself, much less anyone else. And that gets in the way of the vulnerability too, like even with my therapist and stuff like that.
Right. What do you think makes you feel, if you don't mind sharing, if with what makes you feel like you make bad choices? Like,
Oh, just the current state of my life. I make decisions based on like other people's feedback more than just my own gut instinct. Like every haircut I've ever gotten has been a polled decision. You kind of put out the options that you like and get everybody's opinion and who likes which one. And the like I had the idea to file for bankruptcy last year, and my soon-to-be ex-husband decided not to go through with it because it was too much work up front, gathering all of the paperwork and everything together. Now we're getting divorced and have all of this debt that's still attached to me that I still have to deal with when it could be already handled.
Right.
So I keep going against my gut, basically, to make other people happy.
Mm. Yeah,
I guess because I'm afraid of what if I do what I want,
Mhm.
and like if it hurts somebody else. I don't know. I don't really know the thought behind it, but
Hi, Jamie. My name is Alicia. I just want to ask you if maybe you could just try to be more conscious of it and just say, I just tell yourself consciously before you make a decision, maybe I would like to do this and I'm gonna stick with it because I do want to be happy about my decision. And whether it turns out right or wrong, at least you made your decision and you consciously made that effort to, maybe it might be hard for you, but maybe you just try to consciously do it and say, I'm not gonna just go with what I want or what I think other people want. I need to go with what I feel.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. I'm you should see my walls right now. Everything's covered in sticky notes of little tips and tricks that everybody has given me lately. I've joined so many of these meetup events and support groups on Facebook, and I'm just taking advice and putting up whatever I'm relating to. So absolutely, I can definitely remember to think about stuff like that.
I definitely appreciate you sharing, I definitely do appreciate you coming here and sharing because that's definitely helpful. There's a lot of people that, feel the same or maybe in a similar boat and just you being able to speak about it. That's really powerful of you. So I appreciate that. Anyone else would like to add in regards to the beginning topic? Okay. Okay. I was like, if we couldn't hear you for a second, so I didn't want you to think, how do you feel like you create harmony? How do you feel like you can create harmony in your most important relationships? I think it's very important to first start off creating a positive space, like how we said, within yourself. And sometimes that's hard because as with people pleasing or maybe second guessing yourself or overthinking, I'm definitely an overthinker. So I could totally understand like sometimes, you want to have that harmony within yourself, but then, you hear other people's inputs and it could be difficult at times to then go out there and just try to find that peace and love and balance. But what are your ways that you create harmony with, the most important people in your life?
I want to chime in and say communication is key.
Yes. Yeah.
So communication and just sharing each other's thoughts, regardless if you don't agree, you respectfully disagree, but always communication is key.
Yeah.
I agree there. I agree, like listening more than you talk.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Right. I-
Yeah.
And also, if people don't agree with you, then at that point, uh, sometimes I've come across people who don't agree, and then they're trying for a long time to convince me of their viewpoint, which makes me try to second guess my viewpoint. And I have to sit there and kind of regroup and say, wait a minute, I respect their opinion, but sometimes people don't respect my opinion.
Yes.
Yep. That's always the case at times. Yep.
Definitely listening to understand is a big one. And sometimes it's hard, especially if maybe it's a debate and you guys are not seeing eye to eye, and maybe you're in your emotions and you feel upset about what they're saying. So it's definitely a lot of just that self-awareness and mindfulness to be able to step back and just take a couple of breaths to hear what the other person is saying to better understand where they're coming from. And I definitely think communication is really, really a big one. And being clear with your communication. Sometimes we do communicate. However, we may say things that we try to sugarcoat it, or maybe you dance around it rather than kind of
Yeah,
just speak your truth. So I definitely think communication and honesty is a big one.
definitely.
One that I wanted to toss in there as well is kind of off the branch of like cause and effect, and that's like, however we're communicating, we can't control how people hear us, and I think in the climate of today, I think that's something that leads a lot of people get lost in their message, get lost in translation, because we're all speaking iterations of a language that in our own way, and when especially it's people close to us, they really need to understand like how we best find our center and
Mhm.
how we need to be kind of communicated with interchangeably, how we need to communicate with them. And it takes patience. I think it takes patience to navigate all of that. And that's like one of the things like I've really been learning in regards to like navigating the communication pocket with like people dear to you. Because some people, they just want to be in proximity to you and help you and be there for you and support you in whatever way they can. However, if you can't like, a couple of people were saying earlier, if you can't communicate those things, I don't feel like none of it matters, but we also need to understand that how we speak and how people hear will always be different.
Yes, yes. Perception is definitely something that is very important to be mindful of. And also everyone, like how you said, how they listen to and how they take in the input that you're giving is definitely a big thing. And when you have, especially your most important people, you know, you love them for who they are. Everybody is different. So it's being able to, like how Carl said, have that patience to understand that everyone is different, everyone loves differently. And when you have those important people in your life that you adore, you have to create those boundaries, because they may love you, but maybe not in the way that you need, and is not maybe the most positive for you. So it's like creating that boundary and creating those principles within that relationship, so that way you guys know where you stand, but still have that positive setting for both people. And that's a difficult one. um to me, I think, especially with people that you love, or that are really close in your close circle.
I think the most important thing, or the most like light bulb thing that I've heard recently, was know who you're talking to. Don't have like a false idea in your head. Don't get lost in who you're talking to. Don't get lost in the conversation and end up sharing something with someone you normally wouldn't share that type of stuff with. So like if you're talking to somebody you just met, you wouldn't connect to them the same way you would like a friend or family member you've been really close with your whole life, that knows everything about you. because they have that background information.
Mm.
But I think that kind of just builds off of what Carl was saying, perspective and having the ability to relate to one another.
That is true. That is true. Anyone else would like to add?
Yes. Hello, everyone. This is Ange Marie.
Hi.
Hi. So I wanted to add respect. You know, I feel like there are times where we communicate, whether it's with family, friends, or coworkers, and I heard that guy earlier was stating that sometimes people don't always get your perspective. And that may be true. We may not always understand each other's perspective, but I feel like respect goes a long way. You know, just kind of like, okay, I don't really understand you, but okay, I respect what you're saying, you know, instead of just kind of like, like shouting someone off or like shutting them off, like, oh, I don't get what you're saying. And, you know, I think it's like, okay, you think the moon is red. I see it as, you know, gray, but okay, that's your perspective, you know. Um, I think respect goes a long way. And that's something that I'm learning, you know, with myself as well in communication.
I agree. I agree. Respect is definitely, you have to have respect in yourself and also have respect, people have to respect you as well for you to feel like in a good space. I absolutely agree.
Same.
Anyone else? And I appreciate everyone being here today. I just want to say that real quick. Thank you guys.
Yeah, shout outs to everybody. Shout outs to everybody.
I really do appreciate that. Okay. Speaking of respect, how do you guys feel like, you could demand that respect? And I think that that's a good one, especially in the work field too. Like, even in general, how do you think that you can demand that respect, but still by respecting others and at the same time?
It's hard. I have, it's hard because people try to push their limit of control. And I try to respect another person's perspective, but sometimes what I come across is when I say, okay, I respect it, and I said, you know, and I said, let's go on to a different conversation, or they just won't stop. They're trying to convince me of their perspective and convince me that their way is the only way. And that's where I say, I haven't quite mastered how to be, I respect the other person, but how do I get them to respect me to say enough is enough?
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that me personally, I know, like, with people taking out the time to respect where you come from, from my experience, not everyone is going to respect you, even if they say they
Right.
do. And that's kind of like, hard, especially if you have to interact with them on a daily basis. And it's really, you have to find a way to assertively create those boundaries and just stick to what you're saying, and really sometimes say the no, like, and you have to just be firm. And if you're a beautiful, kind-hearted, empathetic, just amazing person, it's not always easy to say no.
Right.
You want to consider the other person, and a lot of times people like to take advantage of people like that.
Right.
And that's the difficulty. So I definitely understand. How do you feel like we could create those boundaries? I definitely do struggle with creating boundaries, especially with people that I care for. Just, you want to see them happy. So
Right.
think, like, how can we create boundaries, Oh, sorry.
I'd say that word discipline comes to mind when it comes to creating boundaries. I'd say, like, honestly, anything worth having in life, I feel like isn't sustainable without discipline, and boundaries included. Because if we can't maintain the mortar of the walls that we're trying to put up, they'll just crumble down, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
So
which is
I
easier
also
said than
want
done.
to, sorry,
I'm
go
that
ahead.
person on the other side of things, but that passionate person that just gets that fire and can't stop. Um, and it's like a personality flaw also that I have to work on. But um, something that supervisors of mine in the past, aside from my coming off as aggressive or confrontational or what have you, even though I'm trying to be respectful of perspectives and get everyone's feedback and such, uh, they've used phrases like, um, if you still feel that more discussion's needed, we can take this offline, or we can have a discussion about that privately, or something like that. You know, if they still feel like they need to talk about it. But or you know, yeah, I agree. It's a it's a bigger issue that we may need to take action on, but we need to focus on this particular thing right now. Just something to redirect. But yeah, I know we're hard to deal with, and I'm sorry on behalf of that person.
And I think somebody was talking before. I'm sorry, guys. Or maybe that was just
I just wanted to say that respect always starts with yourself. If you don't respect yourself, if you don't respect the boundaries that you know that you need to put in, then you're not going to get that respect from the outer side.
yeah. Yeah. You know, like
And
that's
like they say on the airplane, put your mask on first, you know.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
exactly. Exactly. Okay. Um, so what are some principles that you guys follow that you think is effective that maybe can help somebody here? You know, outside we definitely said some respect in there, communication, you know, loving yourself, some self-love. But what are maybe some other principles? Does anybody have like principles that, and I had a list of principles and I couldn't find it, but
I think sticking to your boundaries and not letting anybody change that from you.
yeah. Yeah, sticking to your boundaries is sticking to your gun.
Yeah, and it's harder to do. It's not that easy.
Yeah, it's not, I think it's definitely especially because like how we discussed that everyone has a different just outlook on life, you know, due to what they've been through maybe as a child or their experience of growing up, or just, you know, there's definitely different outlooks on life. So it's like having your own boundary, but still, you know, when you enter out in that world, it's like everyone's boundaries is everywhere. So you just have to,
Right.
I just go out there and put my boundary in that world and let it be peaceful as well. That is true.
One for me is like letting go of worries.
Mm,
And that, you know, kind of helps me be in the present, because I feel like we're at our most powerful when we're living in the moment, you know. So like that principle allows me to be in more of a place of stillness, because like I feel like we all have an overall modality that we're comfortable at moving in life, and if we honor that, I feel like life is a more abundant experience.
how do you work through removing fear on a day-to-day?
Is that to me or everyone?
Yeah, yeah, and whoever
Oh,
wants to, yeah.
well, for me, I'm kind of like a daredevil, you know, so I like to put myself in very extreme situations. So like I try to like challenge myself through a lot of physical and mental exercises and activities. One is I challenge myself every day that on the top or the bottom of each day, I have some type of calisthenics based workout that gets my mind centered and my body moving, and along with a steady rotation of mindful meditation. And I say mindful meditation, but really what I mean in that is having time where your mind isn't actually clouded or cluttered with any type of thinking or thought or anything. And that helps me kind of really understand that fear, where it is coming from and how to address it, if that makes sense. Because I feel like it's easier when you slow down the world to really isolate what is coming from where and what you're actually feeling. Because like there is an aspect of us where people say humans all the time, but people don't call us human beings. And I feel like in that other half of that being, there's a whole empathic dimension. And sometimes the emotions that we take in aren't always ours. So that fear may not be ours. It may be fear given to us by somebody else that we recently interacted with that we think is our own, you know? So I'd say those are a couple of elements that I use to help me navigate that space.
Mm. Yeah, definitely keeping your mind occupied and keeping yourself busy is a great way not to think of negativity. But oh my goodness, I just feel like I lost my train of thought. Am I frozen? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm sorry about that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, can.
Okay, because I
Yes.
was like, I don't know what just happened. You was
Mhm.
talking about that extra being, the other dimensions, and I got kicked out, and I don't know what it just
That's probably what did it.
Hello.
It's probably what did it.
like what happened?
The
Wait a
hot mic.
minute. Yeah, oh my goodness, and I lost my train of thought. Oh, and in regards to fear, you know, one of the things that I'm learning is like a lot of the fear that I have comes from past experiences that weren't the most positive for me. So with a lot of those experiences that has happened in my life, I kind of if something is similar, I kind of like anticipate that something is going to happen badly because I've been through that. And I'm trying to break out of that, which is definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy, but that's definitely something that I'm working through right now, is being able to sit in the moment and actually view how I feel about certain things that may trigger those moments, and see how I could work through it. But definitely one of the things is meditation. You know how Carl said, the mindful meditation is definitely breathing, walking, definitely going out to the trails and being able to just have that time for self to think. And honestly, sometimes being selfish, like having time to do what you love and
Right.
whatever your hobbies are, like that's really important. And sometimes we forget about that because maybe you're a mom or a sibling or you're a caregiver or whatever your profession may be, and we kind of, you know, take care of others and we leave ourselves, and we got to put ourselves first so that way we could water other people and take care of other people. So that's definitely something that I learned when it comes to fear. And yeah, and also another thing is letting go. Letting go and boundaries is something I'm like, oh my goodness. Let me tell you guys. Letting go. You know, I think that we get attached to a lot of things, especially if there's an outcome that maybe we expect. And being open to things not always going our way, and just being open that things come and go, just like seasons change. A lot of things in our life do come into our life, and certain things do leave. That's also something that I'm trying to implement in my principles as well.
And ruminating on the same thought of what's happened. Letting go is getting rid of the rumination.
Mm. Mm. Absolutely.
I think for me is one thing, well, one of the many things that I'm learning or trying to be better at is trying to not take everything so personally.
Mm.
With me being a sensitive and empathic person, I tend to feel more than I want to sometimes. So I can just kind of remember to not always get triggered by everything. And then just kind of taking deep breaths and just kind of like telling myself, okay, this is, it may not be about you, it may be about the other person and things like that. So that's something that I'm working on myself. For
That's
sure.
really great. Mm.
Yeah, and one of the I read somewhere, and I'm so not gonna say it word for word because I don't remember, but it definitely resonated with me is that sometimes when people are upset, they may be projecting, they may say something that maybe it does bother you privately, but it has nothing to do with you. And it was like that there's days that you may not be your best angel. So be open that other people are walking and they may not be their best angel that day. So just be open to knowing that other people are facing difficulties that maybe they may project or put things out there that initially they really don't mean. They're just struggling and trying to fight and have a good day too. So that's definitely taking things personal is a task to be able to just see that everybody goes through their differences. Yeah.
A phrase we had at Apple was assuming positive intent. And that's one I think that can help navigate a lot of spaces,
Yeah. Yeah. And be mindful of your intentions as well too when you walk outside,
That's real.
Yeah, there's an affirmation I really like. It says everything is happening for you, nothing is happening to you. And that's kind of something that I really like to live by. It's like anything that's happening in my life is all happening toward the good. Even if it feels bad in the moment, you just kind of got to embrace with it and dance with it at the end of the day. Like I am not my creator, so I don't curate the setting all the times. I don't curate the characters and everybody who's in my movie, but it's up to me to deal with each situation the way that I can deal with it. All we can do is react and deal with the situations that are presented to us. But it's just you just got to go with the flow sometimes and understand that thing is happening for you.
it's true.
That's real. That flow state is valuable.
Does anybody want to ask any questions or ask for feedback or maybe want to share something or just have
I
anything
need to know more about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you say that? Can you repeat that?
I said I need to know more about that, what Carl and Ahmad we're talking about. I like that.
The affirmation.
The affirmation and everything that goes along with it. I like that.
Where did you see that the affirmation at, Ahmad?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody was calling me. It's a motivational speaker. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
His name's Bryce the Third. He's a motivational speaker, and he says it all the time. And I just really like that affirmation that he says. And for me, it's just we might not love the things in our life, but if you love the person that you are, like if you really love yourself, then that means everything really was toward the good because it turned out a good product at the end of the day. That's like you putting a lot of ingredients and baking a cake, and you might not like the whole process, and the kitchen might have been hot and all this stuff, but you enjoyed the cake at the end of the day. And if you like yourself, if you love yourself, then the cake came out right. So it all happened for you, nothing happened to you. So it's like if you're gonna love yourself a year from now, everything happened for you. And that's just kind of how I embrace it. I love the person that I am today. So nothing happened to me negative. Everything happened for me, even things that I didn't enjoy. And I'm always in the right place. That's something I live by. I'm always in the right place. I've been in lived in 3 different states over this past year. So and I might have felt like I was lost and I'm here, I'm not in the right space, but I'm always at the right place, and things will align once you just breathe and settle into the space, and then those connections, those people you needed to meet, they'll
Eunice?
just build themselves.
Yeah,
That's
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And kind of my perspective from like Ahmad's point, as far as like two mantras that I like live by or affirmations. One is some blessings take longer to bake than others. And the other is if if the top of the tree is touching heaven, then where must its roots go? And, those two kind of spaces really help me navigate a lot of different terrains, to Ahmad's point. Because like sometimes I think when we, like Ahmad mentioned, of I'm not the creator and I'm not curating all the experiences, I like to also think of like as above, so below, and remember that the inside is a mirror for the outside. So if there are things that I feel like aren't really working externally, I need to work on the internal, which will improve the external.
Mhm.
And that's always a work in progress.
So I agree with I really like the affirmation that Carl stated earlier about assuming like like positive. I don't know if I'm saying it like repeating it correctly. But and then I also going back on what Bertha was saying earlier, like, in life when certain things happen that, put these thoughts and fears in your mind. And then as you, go through your journey, you kind of have these blocks around you, kind of like these things to kind of, kind of keep you safe and kind of keep you secure and things like that. And then you're always, assuming this is going to be bad or this person is bad and things like that. So I feel like that's something that I'm working through. Growing up, I feel like I used to walk through life with like rose-colored glasses. Just kind of look at everyone like, oh, everyone is nice and everyone is like great. And then there were, of course, certain life events that changed those things for me. And I'm trying to get back to that part of me. It may not be completely, but I'm trying myself to trying to go back to looking at life in a positive way and looking at people in a positive way again, like I once used to, if that makes sense.
Yes. Remembering that inner child.
Yes,
It's
for
important.
sure.
When you
Yes.
think about when you were a kid, how life was just, simple, and it was just about other people laughing, you laughing, and then you get older and then it's relationships and work and all these different tasks and then goals and then your own dreams and aspirations, and you definitely can sink into a dark place if things may not go the way you expected or planned. But like Ahmad said, like he's right where he needs to be. You'll be surprised how sometimes the obstacles that come in front of you prepare you for so many things that you would have not even imagined. And it's about trying your best to stay positive even when it's difficult. And believe me, there's a lot of difficulties that you could definitely face in moments where you may want to cry or just feel like you're alone. So, and that's why primarily this group is here, is just we're not alone. If you guys ever need somebody to talk to, just please reach out, because you're not. And that's really the importance of this group.
Yeah, that's facts. The other thing I'll toss in there is like for us all to remember is like this world was designed backwards. This world wasn't designed forward. So it's like these conversations that we're having, the world outside is designed for us to sometimes feel this way, that what we're talking about, it's very fear charged. It's very, everything is like sensory overload. And what we're talking, the types of dialogues that we have here, I feel like really help me in my everyday life, and week over week, I sometimes, ruminate on different sound bites that I've heard, or point six made, or diamond made, or, everybody, and these types of dialogues are important, because we're also energetically paying it forward. We take a little bit of medicine from this call, and maybe it changes someone's life who we interact with. It only takes one interaction at a time to change the world.
Right.
Yes. Yes. And
And
then
that is so true. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. That's so true. But this is my first time, by the way, in the meeting, so I feel like I'm learning a lot so far. But um, like you were saying, Bertha, about the inner child, like when we're little, like sometimes you'll see videos of like children in India sitting next to snakes or dogs, and they have no fear because those fears have not been put in their head, you know. And
Right.
I understand as we get older, of course, your parents are like, hey, you know, be careful, like, you know, come home before the street lights come on, before it gets dark, or don't speak with strangers, or before you cross the street, make sure that you look left and right. And I know many times our parents, you know, mean or meant well during those times, but
Mm.
other things like, you know, that we get from the news or other people around us who are fear-based, those things can also, you know, damage us sometimes. It's like, oh my God, don't do this. Oh my God, don't do that. Like, don't touch this thing because it's, and you don't even feel like you have the chance to even try some things out for yourself because you have so much of that fear in you. But as children, we don't children don't have that. Like children will, you know, run to a dog or, you know, like, you know, climb up a tree or, you know, different things, and I feel like they fully live, you know, at least most children anyway. So
Yeah. Some of those old souls, might be on the fence,
they're like, oh, I don't want to do that.
It's like something's telling me I don't like this, but I don't know why.
Do you think it's funny that the fear, um, the fear that keeps us from doing things we'll succeed at,
Mhm.
um, is based on like embarrassment, being laughed at, being mocked,
Mm.
and the things that we loved doing as children made us laugh and have fun. So like we became afraid of the thing we were doing all the time.
Mhm.
So like we went from laughing with our friends to being afraid that our friends would laugh at us.
Yeah.
That's real.
We definitely, I always joke with, as the older I get, the more I watch SpongeBob. I don't, that's just me. But I always say, looking at life, how many of us became Squidward, and we got to get back to being SpongeBob. And it's really just, we have to get into a place and of just, who cares? Like, if it makes me happy, like when we were kids, it's like, I'm gonna make a stage out of a cloth and curtains and I'm gonna dance and I don't care, I'm gonna sing my heart out. It's like, you see the people that kind of are what we would say as crazy are the people that are just free, and it's like we have to be sometimes crazy to get what we just enjoy, and it's our solitude and peace, and it's really just stepping out of that comfort of honestly our minds, because sometimes we think like, what about if this person sees me and says something or this, and it's just like people are gonna talk regardless.
Right.
Mhm.
Always.
Yeah, like whether you do the right thing or do the wrong thing, and sometimes you gotta just say, I gotta just do what makes me happy.
Right, right.
Yeah, and there's also a part of it I feel like is remembering that each of us are a piece of contrast of the universe, and we're all having our own one of one experience.
Mhm.
So there's a reason why we are differentiated as a being than someone else, and there's only so much that someone else can understand us, and someone else can really help us. And we are that little version of us, I feel like has always intuition that we can listen to, because that little version of us always knows how to have always see the sun, always have fun, always make goofy remarks, or just be boisterous and just jump all over the place, dancing all the time. I feel like more of us need to awaken that inner child in our everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
Really?
maybe our younger self had dreams that we haven't accomplished yet. Maybe we're the superhero of our younger version of ourselves. You never know.
We all got to moonwalk after this is over. Everybody got to moonwalk, do your favorite dance, and
Yeah.
yell at the top of your. and I tell people this all the time. One of the things, if I'm ever having a bad day, and I will do this on the highway, roll down the windows and scream as loud as I can. And maybe the next person driving next to me is like, look at this crazy lady. Listen, I'm gonna scream. And I don't know, it always feels good. So I'm just,
It feels great.
yes. So, you know, it's just yeah, we just do what you love. Like, remember what you love, write that down. Remember what made you happy as a kid. And also another thing, you know, sometimes we fear the next steps in our life because of struggles or challenges, but you know how many, well, and I'm going to speak for me, I don't want to speak for everybody, but how many challenges and obstacles I thought I wasn't going to make it through to the other side. And then I sit back and I'm like, wow, like 2 years, I'm like, I would have never thought I would have been here. So then when a new obstacle comes, you can utilize some of the things you learned from the past challenge and apply it and know that you're strong. Everybody here is strong. So if you guys are going through difficult times, like, just remember that you're strong. And that's really important. Yes, journal your thoughts in a notebook. Yes, write it down. That's right, Diamond.
The word master herself.
Yes. If anybody else would like to add anything, I know we get into our hour.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Does anyone feel like they want to share best practices around how they maintain being creative on a regular basis?
Me personally, I was reading this book called Organize Tomorrow Today. And it talks about how the day before you write down 3 things that you need to do the next day. And not the biggest things, just things that you know you could get done even if you have a busy schedule. So that definitely helped me a lot because, you know, sometimes I'm like, I forgot, or, you know, definitely keeping a planner. I'm more of a visualizer. I can't write it down in the phone. I feel like an old lady sometimes. I like the old school way. It just works better for me. So yeah, but just writing things down. And music is my solitude. So.
Agreed. I'm definitely one to put on some Burna Boy on those days when I need.
Yeah. Anyone else with creativity?
Well, I was asking that because, like, I know a while back we had that virtual paint night that we put together, and I don't know if something like that everyone would ever be open to, but I'd love to revisit that in the future because I feel like we're all vibrant artistic souls, no matter what background we're in. And I tell everyone that there's no such thing as a perfect artist, and no one needs to be, because there's so much art that goes unshown in the world, you know.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm an artist and don't ever do anything with it, so that'd be fun.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put on my Bob Ross afro, you know, when that time comes.
Yeah, that would be nice, definitely. And I'm trying to think how, does anybody have any questions or anything else that they want to add?
No, this has been good.
I truly do appreciate everyone coming, and I definitely, we do this once a month, every second Tuesday. And then we also have like the holistic herbs and plant-based discussion, which is the 4th Tuesday of the month. But I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys next month. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you too.
See everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.